40,000 BCE, the Madjedbebe rock shelter. Madjedbebe rock shelter is the oldest archaeological site in Australia. Since the 1980s, archaeologists have believed that our ancestors, modern humans, migrated by foot out of Africa in a single exodus around 70 to 80,000 years ago, passing through the Middle East and Asia to contemporary Indonesia. But unlike earlier humanoids who have made the same journey, Homo sapiens were able to go further, making the 100-kilometre boat journey to Sahul, the ancient continent linking Australia, Tasmania and Papua New Guinea, before the rising of sea levels to their current point. A variety of different coloured pigments have been used to create the art at Madjedbebe. These are mostly ochres of red, yellow and orange, but many are also white clay made from kaolinite and some black charcoal. Rock art is highly significant for the Mirarr people. The same image can convey different meanings to different people depending on their cultural standing. The Madjedbebe motifs include many human-like figures, anthropomorphs, geometric designs, hand stencils, and fish including catfish, barramundi, freshwater long tom, mullet and Saratoga. Fibre objects and objects from the European contact period. The latter include firearms. In fact, there are 281 examples where European people are displayed, are wearing clothing, hats, and standing in characteristic hands-on-hip manner, pipes, knives, and ships. There are no absolute ages for any of the rock art motifs at Madjedbebe. Through dating processes, it has been determined that the majority of the art presented today was created in the last 1500 years. However, these are examples of motifs and designs that have been dated as old as 40,000 and even perhaps 60,000 years old, making them the oldest examples of human habitation that exists currently. 1572, August the 24th. Thousands of Protestant Huguenots were massacred in Paris and throughout France by the Catholics. In 1572, a calculated and targeted mass assassination of Calvinist Protestants known as Huguenots occurred, and is known as the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre. King Charles, the ninth's sister Margaret, married the Protestant Henri of Navarre, the future Henry IV of France. A few days after the wedding, the massacre of the wealthiest and most prominent Huguenots who had gathered in Catholic Paris for the wedding took place. Many believe that Charles's mother, Catherine de' Medici, plotted the event. As in most royal courts, intrigue was the order of the day. The Protestant Admiral Gaspard II de Coligny supported war against the Low Countries and their Spanish rulers to avoid a French civil war. It was complicated. The House of Guise convinced Catherine that the marriage and the Protestants would eventually take over Catholic France. Interestingly, the House of Guise were intent on revenge against the Admiral because they blamed him for the assassination of François de Guise a decade earlier. As they say, the webs we weave. Needless to say, the midnight murders were a bloody affair. (1797) August the 30th. The birthday of author Mary Shelley, born 1797 and died 1851. By any measure, Mary Shelley lived a radical life. As the daughter of William Godwin and Mary Wollstonecraft, two philosophers devoted to the principles of freedom and equality, she grew up in a tumultuous world of exciting new ideas and strong advocacy for social change. After she and the romantic poet Percy Bysshe Shelley eloped at a young age, they spent a rainy summer with Lord Byron and two other friends in a cottage in Geneva, Switzerland, where they passed the time by inventing ghost stories. And it was in that cottage that what is probably the most famous horror story of all time, Mary Shelley's novel Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, 1818, was brought to life. At the age of 16, Mary eloped to Italy with the poet Shelley, who praised the irresistible wildness and sublimity of her feelings. Each encouraged the other's writing, and they married in 1816 after the suicide of Shelley's wife. They had several children, of whom only one survived. It is a story of creation and abandonment and family. The creature is arguably much more of the heroic, sympathetic protagonist here than Dr. Frankenstein, the creator, whose sin is not in playing God, though some have made that argument, but rather in leaving his creation alone in a confusing, cruel to indifferent world. Unlike so many of his on-screen interpretations, the creature of the novel is eloquent, thoughtful, and, at least at first, inspired by the beauty of the natural world. Later he uses his gift for language to articulate his anguish, telling Frankenstein, "I am content to reason with you. I am malicious because I am miserable. Am I not shunned and hated by all mankind? You, my creator, would tear me to pieces and triumph. Remember that, and tell me why I should pity man more than he pities me." August 26. One of the most catastrophic volcanic eruptions in recorded history occurred on the Indonesian island of Krakatoa. The explosions were heard 2,000 miles away. Tidal waves 120 feet high killed 36,000 people on nearby islands, while 5 cubic miles of earth were blasted into the air up to a height of 50 miles. In May 1883, the captain of the German warship Elizabeth observed a column of smoke and ash that he estimated 6.8 miles or 1.97 kilometres tall, rising into the sky over an uninhabited mountainous island in the Sunda Strait between Java and Sumatra in Indonesia. Ash fell so thickly as to obscure the sun, according to a report later compiled by Great Britain's Royal Society. Over the next few months, according to the report, other ships noticed ominous rumblings from the island, whose Indonesian name was Krakatau. Though possibly due to a typographical error, became famously known as Krakatoa. Finally, on August the 27th, 1883, all hell broke loose as a colossal volcanic eruption demolished Krakatoa, causing 2/3 of it to collapse and fall into the sea, and generated massive lava, pumice and ash flows. The explosion also triggered immense tsunamis that inundated hundreds of coastal towns and villages, causing the deaths of an estimated 36,000 people, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Krakatoa, which scored a 6 on the Volcano Explosivity Index, was one of the biggest documented volcanic eruptions in the last 760,000 years of natural history. Well, that brings us to an end of This Week in History for this week. Please, if you've enjoyed this and you would like to hear more of Reminisce with Terry This Week in History, subscribe, click the like button and ring the bell to be notified of future episodes. Later this week, my episode on zoos and the macabre history of zoos will be released. Please, if you have any comments, add them below, and I'd love to hear from you. Any thoughts about the episodes that have occurred during this week in history, or other comments that you might might like to make. Thank you for joining us. This is Terry from Reminisce with Terry.